Hey everyone. Getting ready for that big job interview. It can be super nerve-wracking, but it's also a chance to shine.
Yeah, for sure.
So today we're going diving deep into Dawn Rosenberg McKay's book.
Oh, yeah, the everything practice interview.
Exactly, to uncover the secrets
Mhm.
to not just surviving,
Right.
but acing that next interview.
You know, I think a lot of people miss that. It's about so much more than just, knowing your resume backwards and forwards.
Totally.
There are two really crucial things you've got to nail down.
Okay.
Really understanding your strengths and motivations,
Mm-hmm.
and then digging deep into what the company is really about.
So it's like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
just reciting accomplishments, but connecting them to what the company needs.
Exactly. Think about it.
Okay.
Interviewers ask all those, kind of personal questions sometimes
Oh, yeah.
to figure out, okay, what's this person really like? Will they fit in here?
Right. So are you a team player?
Exactly.
Could you handle
Yeah.
pressure?
They're looking for clues that go way beyond just
Hmm.
what's on that piece of paper?
So how do we actually do that? Like, how do we show them who we are
Yeah.
without turning it into, like, a therapy session?
McKay has some really smart advice about this.
Okay.
One thing I loved was the idea of having specific anecdotes, stories.
Oh, stories.
Yeah. So instead of just saying, like, I'm a great problem solver,
Right.
you have a story ready
Yeah.
about a time you faced a tough challenge and how you tackled it.
Show, don't tell.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about that classic question? What's your greatest weakness?
Oh, everybody hates that one.
Do we actually, like, spill our deepest, darkest secret?
Well, honesty is important, but it's
Yeah.
also about how you frame it.
Okay.
McKay suggests turning that weakness into a strength.
I like that.
So let's say you tend to overplan everything.
Mm-hmm.
You could frame that as being highly organized and detail-oriented.
Right.
Own your quirks and show how they can actually be assets.
Okay, love it.
Yeah.
So what about researching the company?
Uh-huh.
Is it enough to just, like, glance at their website?
Honestly, you gotta go deeper.
Okay.
Like, dive into their SEC filings.
SEC filings?
Yeah, these are public documents.
Okay.
They give you a much more realistic picture
Mm-hmm.
of the company's financial health, their overall strategy.
Okay.
It's way more insightful than just their, polished marketing stuff.
So for someone like me who's more comfortable with, novels than financial statements,
Right.
can you break down, like, what are SEC filings and why do they matter?
Sure. So SEC filings are these reports that publicly traded companies,
Okay.
they have to file them with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC.
Mm.
It's like their unfiltered diary.
Ooh.
It reveals a ton about their financial performance, the risks they face, even future plans.
Okay, so it's like getting a behind the scenes,
Exactly.
look at how they actually work.
Yep.
What else can we do to really get a sense of where
Yeah.
the company's at right now?
Oh, the book also says to set up news alerts for the company.
Good idea.
Yeah, and then use blog search engines.
Okay.
See what people are actually saying about that.
Oh.
It's like having your finger on the pulse, of their day-to-day.
So by the time you walk into that interview,
Mm-hmm.
you're not just another candidate.
Right, exactly.
You're practically an insider.
Exactly. That kind of preparation, it shows real interest.
Yeah.
Makes you stand out for sure.
Okay, let's talk about those,
But yeah,
tricky interview questions, the ones that make you want to hide.
I know, right?
Like, tell me about yourself. How do you answer that
Right.
without rambling on about your whole life story?
It's all about crafting a concise narrative
Okay.
that really highlights the stuff that aligns with the job. Think of it like your personal highlight reel,
Okay, I like that.
showcasing your best moments.
So instead of just saying, I'm a hard worker, we give an example of a time when we really went above and beyond.
Yes. And quantify your accomplishments.
Okay.
Numbers are powerful.
Give me an example.
Instead of, I increased sales, say, I implemented this new strategy that boosted sales by 15%.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, what if we're fresh out of college
Mhm.
or switching careers and don't have a ton of formal experience?
You can still impress them.
Okay.
McKay really emphasizes that even those seemingly unrelated experiences,
Okay.
they can demonstrate skills Think about volunteer work, internships,
Yeah.
even class projects.
Right, right.
It's about connecting the dots,
Mm-hmm.
showing how those experiences translate into the skills they need.
So it's not just about the job titles we've had.
Nope.
It's about the skills we've developed along the way.
Exactly. There's this great anecdote in the book. This candidate
Okay.
had no formal sales experience, but landed a sales job
Oh, wow.
by talking about how they ran a school fundraising campaign.
Oh, interesting.
They showed off their persuasion communication skills through that.
Yeah, it's a great example. So experience can come from all sorts of places.
Exactly.
What about those really tough questions, like explaining a gap in your work history
Yeah.
or a job that,
Right.
didn't end so well?
Honesty and smart framing are key.
Okay.
Acknowledge the situation briefly,
Mm.
then pivot to what you learned and how it made you a stronger candidate.
So focus on the positive.
Exactly. Own your decisions, show growth, and McKay gives some really helpful scripts
Yeah.
for those tricky conversations.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this book sounds packed with
Oh, it is.
really practical advice.
It really is.
Out of all the insights and strategies, what's the one thing that really stood out to you?
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah.
There are so many good points,
Mhm.
but I think what really hit home was the emphasis on authenticity.
Okay.
It's about showcasing your best self, but the real you.
Right.
Interviewers can spot a phony a mile away. Be yourself, be genuine,
Yeah.
let your personality come through. That's what makes a real impression.
That's such a powerful reminder. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being the best version of yourself.
Exactly.
And on that note, we'll wrap up part 1 of our deep dive
Okay.
into mastering the job interview. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve into even more strategies
Awesome.
for acing those tough interview questions.
Can't wait.
Me neither. Welcome back, everyone. We're continuing our deep dive into mastering the job interview with more insights from Dawn Rosenberg McKay's The Everything Practice Interview.
Yes.
We've covered so much already, prepping, researching, understanding the company.
Right.
Now let's tackle those dreaded behavioral interview questions.
Ooh, yeah. Everyone's favorite.
Right, like, tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult coworker or a project that went off the rails.
Yeah, those are getting so common now.
Why is that?
Because employers really want to see concrete examples of your skills,
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to predict how you'll behave in the future based on what you did in the past.
Makes sense. Stories stick with us more than
Exactly.
just like vague claims.
Yeah.
But it can be hard to think on the spot,
Oh, totally.
especially when you're already nervous. Any tips on how to approach these?
McKay has this framework she calls the STAR method.
Okay.
It stands for situation, task, action, and result.
STAR. Got it.
Yeah, so basically you set the scene, describe the situation,
Okay.
explain the task you were given, the action you took, and the result.
So it's like a mini story.
Yes, with a clear beginning, middle, and end.
I like it.
And the key is choose stories that highlight the skills they're looking for.
Ooh, good point.
So if they want a team player, have a story about successful collaboration.
So almost like before the interview, you create this mental library.
Yes. I love that. A mental library of interview stories.
Yeah, of times you demonstrated those key skills.
Exactly. And remember, be specific.
Okay.
Use details, numbers. Instead of, I improved customer satisfaction, say, I implemented a new system that reduced complaints by 20%.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right.
Numbers are powerful.
They make an impact for sure. Okay, what if they ask about a situation that you haven't prepared for, like a curveball?
Don't panic.
Easier said than done, right?
I know, but seriously, take a breath, gather your thoughts. It's totally fine to say, that's a great question. Let me think of a specific example.
That buys you a little time.
Exactly. And if you're drawing a blank, it's okay to say you haven't faced that exact situation, but then talk about how you would approach it.
Okay.
Based on your skills, your experience.
Right.
You can even pull from other areas of your life, like volunteering or projects.
So even if it's not a perfect work example, you can still show, like, problem solving or leadership.
Exactly. It's about connecting those dots, showcasing your transferable skills.
Love it. Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Talk about the part of the interview where you get to ask questions. Oh, yeah.
It can feel intimidating.
Totally.
Like a pop quiz after you've been answering questions for an hour?
Right.
What's the best way to approach this part?
McKay really emphasizes that asking questions is not optional.
Oh, okay.
It shows you're interested, you did your research, you're thinking critically.
So no asking about salary or vacation time just yet?
Right, save those for later.
Okay.
This is about the job itself, the culture,
Mm-hmm.
the interviewer's experience.
Got it. So what are some good questions that show you've done your homework?
Instead of generic stuff like, what's the company's mission?
Right, which is easy to find online.
Exactly. You could ask, can you describe a typical day in this role?
Ooh, I like that.
Or, what are the biggest challenges facing the team right now?
That shows you're thinking about the day-to-day and the big picture.
Exactly.
What about asking the interviewer about their personal experience?
Oh, that's a great idea. Like, what's been your most rewarding experience working here?
Ooh, yeah.
That can give you such valuable insights.
It's like an insider's view.
Yeah.
Okay, after the interview,
Mm-hmm.
is a thank you note still a thing?
Absolutely. McKay's a big believer in them, and so am I.
Okay, good to know.
A handwritten note shows you went the extra mile.
Yeah.
It stands out in the digital world.
So what should we actually write in it?
It's more than just thank you.
Okay.
Reiterate your enthusiasm. Highlight a point from the interview that resonated.
Okay.
Even mention something you learned in your research.
So it's like a mini follow-up interview.
Exactly. One last chance to leave a good impression.
I love it. This has been so insightful.
Oh, good.
We've learned so much about prepping, storytelling, asking questions, following up.
It's a lot to cover, but it's all important.
Before we wrap up this part, what's one thing you wish more candidates understood about the interview process?
You know what I think gets overlooked a lot is genuine curiosity.
Okay.
It's not just about answering questions, right?
Yeah.
It's about a conversation.
Yeah.
Ask questions, listen, show you're truly interested in the company and the role.
It's about passion, letting your personality shine.
Exactly.
On that note, we'll wrap up part 2 of our deep dive
Okay.
into mastering the job interview. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore those tricky legal questions.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
And what to do if you get a job offer.
The best part.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of job interview mastery with insights from Dawn Rosenberg McKay's The Everything Practice Interview. We've talked about prepping, telling stories, asking good questions.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
Now let's get into something that can be a little tricky, those potentially illegal interview questions.
Yeah, it's important to know your rights here.
Definitely.
Interviewers, legally, they can't ask things that could be used to discriminate.
Right, like based on race or gender or...
Exactly. Things like age, religion, disability, all protected.
So straight up asking about my age or religion is a no-go, right?
Oh, absolutely. Those are clear violations.
Okay, good.
But sometimes it's more subtle.
Oh, well.
Like they might ask about your marital status, childcare, even your maiden name.
Oh, wow.
It could be a way to get info they could use to discriminate, even if it seems innocent.
So how do we handle that? I don't want to be confrontational.
Right, and you don't want to blow your chances.
Exactly.
And Mickey has some really good tips in the book.
Okay, good.
First, know your rights, like really familiarize yourself with the laws.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're unsure about a question, it's totally fine to ask for clarification.
Okay.
Or rephrase it to focus on your skills.
So if they ask about my age, I can say something like, I'm confident my experience and energy are a great fit for this role.
Perfect. You redirected it back to your qualifications.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
What if they keep pushing, though?
That's tough. You can gently remind them it's not relevant to the job.
Okay.
But honestly, if you're uncomfortable, you have the right to end the interview.
It's good to remember we can walk away.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about the waiting game after the interview.
Oh, yeah, the hardest part.
How do you deal with that without constantly checking your email?
I know, it's so tempting.
Right.
But McKay says, don't become a hermit.
Okay.
Use that time productively, keep searching, network, brush up on skills.
So stay proactive.
Exactly. And if you haven't heard back in a reasonable time, follow up politely.
Got it. Okay, let's say, best case scenario,
Yes.
you get the job offer.
Congratulations.
But what happens then?
Don't celebrate just yet.
Oh, okay.
Take time to review the offer carefully, the salary, benefits, the culture.
So it's not just an automatic yes.
Right. It's got to be an informed decision, something that aligns with your goals.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any concerns, any questions, ask for clarification. You can even negotiate.
We should know our worth.
Exactly.
Right.
Preparation and confidence are key here, too.
Okay, so let's say we accept the offer.
Exciting.
How do we do that professionally?
McKay says, express your enthusiasm, but confirm the details in writing.
Smart. So everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Avoids any confusion later on.
What if we decide to decline the offer? How do you handle that?
Even then, be professional, leave a good impression, thank them for the opportunity, decline politely, give a brief reason.
So even saying no, you want to do it right.
Exactly. It's about building bridges. You never know when your paths might cross again.
That's such a good point.
It,
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive into mastering the job interview.
it's been fun.
I feel like I've learned so much, practical strategies, insights,
Good. That's what we aim for.
from prepping to negotiating and everything in between.
It's a whole process.
Remember, everyone, preparation, authenticity, strategic framing, knowing your rights, and following up are all key.
And don't forget to be curious. Ask questions.
Yes, you have unique skills and experiences to offer, so go out there and rock that interview.
You got this.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.